Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Axe Ministry, Axe Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits.
And it is good morning. It's Friday once again. You're here with the Morning Mouth, and it's Johnny Rooster, your host, along with
Pastor Matt.
And we have a very special guest in the house
For
today.
the second time. Twice in a different week.
And it's amazing. It's so good. It's story time, and stories are so good.
Part 2.
And we're going to go for the long haul. One more run, going long. The stories they can get good if you're telling them. But there's probably a story you have. Jody is a coworker of mine, and he's the guest. But in your story, is there any backwoods hunting, fishing, redneck type stuff that you can tell us? Because you're a self-proclaimed hillbilly, hick, redneck, all. What's some crazy crap you got into as a hick, backwoods, good old boy?
Well, if it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, he'd been married a long time ago.
Heck yeah. But
Sorry.
no, some of
the
the things we played on people when we're out hunting and stuff, and I've seen people fall asleep while we're hunting, sitting in their little stand and everything, and you yell and fire off a gun and watch them about fly while it's stand. That's pretty funny.
That sounds dangerous.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Wake 'em up.
We'd put a buckle on them before we did it so they didn't fall off.
Up in a deer stand or something? Yeah.
Or you're sitting in a deer blind, and they're sitting there kind of nodding off, and you
There
just
you go.
fire that gun inside there. Boy, it's loud. Watch them jump.
What
Bring
kind
some
of
baby wipes.
what kind of hunting do you do?
Oh, I deer hunt, turkey hunt. I like fishing mostly.
But okay, so what kind of fishing do you do?
White bass. I like gigging. Suckerfish. Oh,
Yeah.
they're the best.
Good eating, huh?
Yeah. If
What-
you score them up and fry them right, you don't have to debone them.
Okay, see, the people that don't know how to do that, what would be the easiest way to do scoring a fish? You have to have the right kind of knife?
Oh, no, you just fillet them.
Okay.
Take that fillet knife,
All right.
just put scores all the way across them,
Yeah.
and then fry them up. And then
That'll
bones,
cook the bones enough
you can
to...
eat the bones and everything. It don't hurt nothing.
Yep.
And like,
I've seen that done, Pastor Matt. You acting like making a
Yeah.
face, but
I
you know
am
what?
not a huge fan of fish.
Actually,
You ever
neither
go
is my
spoon-billing?
my wife is not a big
Huh?
fan.
you been spoon billing?
No.
Dude, when you snag a fish as big as you are.
No, I've fished. I've fished a lot.
no.
I fished in
Love
the Gulf of
fish.
Mexico.
Oh,
Caught,
did?
Yeah, Spanish mackerel, king
Oh, heck
mackerel,
yeah.
flounder.
Telling fish
Oh, that's a-
stories here. It's
I'm
story
just not
time.
a huge fan of fish.
Oh,
It
you,
was-
don't
eating
like,
it.
you don't like eating it.
It was this big.
I like the non-fishy tasting fish.
The fish.
It was this big away from the bank.
That's right. Fish stories, fishermen.
the one that got away.
I got to tell you one that's not so. It's Johnny. Okay, Johnny Rooster is not a fisherman. I'm more of a different guy. Different in so many ways. I'm fishing
noticed. Say it ain't so.
one rare time in my life, that one of the very few times I'm fishing. I'm with my cousin on Table Rock Lake on the bank. Well, that's probably stupid for new
Yeah.
people because we're not catching anything.
No.
But my cousin has his kids there, and I got to pee so bad. Can I say pee?
Yeah.
I like that. 'Cause
I don't
we
know.
Can't, we
Can
can't,
you?
I don't know. Can you? We
You
can't
done
say
said it.
sponsor.
That's
guy.
one
So,
syllable versus.
I gotta go. I gotta
3
go.
syllables.
I gotta go so bad, and I'm about to explode. But I don't want to stop my fishing expedition. So I got my fishing pole, and I turn away from the kids, and I'm doing my business away from the kids. And I'm looking over my shoulder to make sure they don't see me doing my business. And then I get done, and I look straight ahead, and a mom and her daughter on the opposite bluff.
Oh,
Standing there
no.
staring
I'm
at you.
showing them the show, and I'm hiding from the kids.
Yeah.
So the embarrassing fact was, well, at least I didn't get to communicate with the mom and the daughter. I just realized what they realized, and I was embarrassed.
Oh, of course you
Oh,
were.
yeah.
That was
You
the
wanna-
way that day went.
See,
I'm an embarrassed fisherman. My
Yeah.
fishing stories are terrible.
you go on floating trips and you see some weird stuff.
Yes.
I've seen people stand up in a canoe and peeing, and I'm like, dude, look at that bank over there. And they're looking. I said, you see all these people? Yeah. I said,
Yeah. What's
you
the-
have no shame, do you? He's like, turns
Shame.
around in the canoe and about flips everybody over just so he can pee out the
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
Shameless.
Makes more sense to hop out of the boat, get in the water, pee,
Yeah.
and then get back in.
Yeah. that's what
at
I
least
thought.
Pee in the water, you know.
well, the next time I kind of rocked the boat and they all fell out.
Yeah.
I'm still hanging on though.
So we're hanging out with Jody, and he's my coworker, and Pastor Matt, and
Yeah.
I have a weekly show. It's called Morning Mouth, and I am Johnny Rooster. What we do on this show is a little different from what you see in the headlines. Is kind of the idea here anyway, is to bring some stuff to you that you don't normally hear. Last week, if you tuned in, if you didn't, just go ahead and find it. But it's a part one, and we just called it Story Time. It's Story Time. And Jody shared a heart-wrenching story about his past. So, Jody, if you want to catch us up, your life was full of conflict. There's a lot of abuse. Your dad,
Yeah, physical, mental,
physical
it was
abuse,
pretty bad.
alcoholism, drug use.
Yeah,
And you came through all of that, and a lot of people that are listening and watching can't relate to that, and a lot of them can.
yeah,
But there's dirty, dark secrets in your life that,
Yeah, they know.
or they're ugly sides of your story, I should say. And you don't really necessarily want to share that, but when you do, how does that feel, and what's the outcome?
yeah.
You know,
Takes
so-
a huge weight off your chest because I haven't talked to nobody about this, and they try to get me for years, and I just don't do it, and I just put it behind me a long time ago, and since I've been talking about it, it makes it a lot more. I feel a whole lot better than I used to.
we're in a studio in Springfield, Missouri, and Jody's been he's been in the Cassville area and other rural areas in southwest Missouri, but he's not a city guy, okay? You probably got
No.
that vibe.
Not at all.
Just waiting for you guys to just respond. In fact, if you got some comments, put them in there if you got some country experience, you know. 'Cause
Oh yeah.
we're talking, this guy, Jody, is a hard worker. He's a laborer that has done many different things and done
Yes,
them
sir.
very well. But some things that weren't so good in his life was a failed marriage, a
Mm-hmm.
mysteriously non-communicative wife,
Yeah.
and children taken away, and no communication. That's got to suck all of the life out of you.
Well,
And you turned back into some stuff during that time. So tell
Yeah.
that part of your story, if you would.
Well, when she left me, I was taking Xanax and drinking beer,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost a whole week and ended up in a mental ward for 2 weeks. They tried to put me on all this medication. I told them I'm not crazy. I didn't do it on purpose. I just lost control of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, when you come in here, your eyes were yellow. You pretty much was going into liver failure. And I said, well, it's only Saturday and I started Friday. And they said, you started last Friday. I said, oh.
So you lost a whole
So
week.
I lost a whole week of my life because I was just out of it. And they said I was walking, talking, and
Was the reaction you had when your wife and kids were just gone
Yeah,
with
they
no
were just
explanation?
gone,
They
yeah.
left. How did you find out they
I
were
slept-
gone? How did you discover that?
well, I was standing right there when she come home and got him.
Oh, she just left in front
Yeah,
of you.
she brought a friend, called the cops, and the cop come out here and he said, why am I here? And I said, I have no idea. He goes, he was talking to her, and all of a sudden he started yelling. He's like, if you ever call me out here for this kind of, man, he
Yeah,
was
because the
mad.
cop said,
Yeah,
"What's
he
the
had a
point
better
in
thing to
calling me
do.
out?" Yeah.
But because I've never done anything to nobody, you know. I
So
mean,
you just were shocked.
yeah, and they left with their friends, and I wasn't gonna cause a big deal. I just went up to my mom's and sat there, and I just thought, well, screw it, and I got all messed up,
Mm-hmm.
and I stayed that way for 2 or 3 years. I had the Xannies and beers, and when I got out, I started doing meth, and I mean hardcore every day, all day. I didn't stop until I passed out.
You had described meth. Some family members of mine have old school meth.
Yeah,
What's the new stuff like? You say it's more dangerous.
They make it out of a fungus now. You believe that?
It's crazy.
And I've seen people shoot up and be paralyzed for the rest of their lives now.
So it's extremely dangerous.
Yeah, it causes MRSA. And they add everything else to it.
So the point
It's really
is,
hard.
you're telling a very hard part of your life. What caused you to stop
Because
using
I seen,
that?
because you lose your morals. You just lose things that you would never ever do.
Oh.
And when I saw that, I was starting to, and I watched my sisters and my brothers and the things they were doing that they would never ever do.
Yeah.
But they've been on it so long, I don't know how they do if they quit. But I had enough because I'm not no thief. I'm not gonna hurt nobody. I'm just not. And I've had enough of it, and I just quit.
So how long ago was that when you
A
quit?
year.
A year ago.
Yeah, I'm new at it. So every day's a fight.
Yeah, it is.
every day.
What do you got to say about that, Pastor Matt?
Ah,
Because you've
well-
got some experience with stuff, but
Yeah, I have
substances.
experience with methamphetamines
Okay.
and alcohol, just a general party lifestyle. I was
Yeah.
addicted to that.
If you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about a story here with my coworker and Pastor Matt, and they've got some stuff in the background. So
And I've had all different types. There is the type
Yeah.
that grows like a fungus.
Yep.
There's the type that they mix it together, and if it actually touches water, it's going to explode. They have, and I've seen the the
Shake and bake.
Yeah, that's what it's called. And then the red and black. I
Yeah.
actually had watched somebody
this stuff
manufacture
is
that.
like they're
Yeah.
speaking a foreign
And
language. to
this
me.
is-
It's like I have no idea.
I mean, this is a full-on chemistry we're talking here.
Yeah.
Like using chemicals to separate out other chemicals and then mixing that with other chemicals. And
Do
Yep.
the
it's
users
insane.
cook it, or does one person cook and then distribute it? How is that?
It depends on the person.
Yeah.
Really. Unfortunately, for the person that I had witnessed doing it, they did it as well. And I wasn't that into it. I didn't even like being around it. I'm like, the less I know about this process, the better.
Yeah, I just wanted to do it.
And yeah, so
That's a bad thing.
Is it injected with a needle?
yeah,
You
yeah, you can do that. and
Snort it, smoke
smoke-
it, shoot
what
it.
have you. If there's any way to do drugs, you can do this
Yeah.
drug that way.
And it keeps you awake for a long period of time?
It-
Generally,
It used to. Now I've seen people do 8 balls all day and sleep at night.
Because they're
And I've
so
never-
used to it.
Yeah.
they become
Yep.
desensitized.
and but you also you don't eat, so your body starts to
Yeah.
digest itself.
Why
does.
is the hair and the teeth affected? What's up with that?
Well, that depends on how you do it too.
Yeah.
But it also, it strips your. First of all, people who smoke it and shoot it, there's one that is made with acetone and muriatic acid.
Yeah.
All right, so the acid in it rots away the calcium in your teeth and rots away your teeth. And then it's really needle wise, it's only good for 30, 45 seconds of the most
Yeah.
intense, and then 10 minutes later I was yawning. I tried that a couple times and I'm like,
Yeah.
nah,
It
I'll take some to smoke. I don't want any
Yeah,
of
it
that.
wasn't for me either. I smoke it.
So it's the
And
problem
snorting it
is
hurted.
the problem is what it does, Johnny, is it causes your brain to overproduce dopamine, which is,
Yeah.
as you well know, the chemical that makes you feel happy,
Feel happy.
and love,
Yeah.
things like that. So whenever your body produces dopamine, when your brain produces a certain amount of dopamine, it takes that much dopamine or higher to feel normal or happy again
Yeah.
until your brain readjusts itself. So that's why they say a lot of people are grumpy when they're coming down. Well, that's why
You need more and more
they
of
have
it
no
to feel the
feelings of
same high.
happiness.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending deal, and once you quit, I mean, the first year is the hardest.
Oh yeah. Your brain's trying to readjust to everything you've been used to.
You have to
doing.
get to know yourself without drugs.
Yeah, and that's hard too because
Yeah.
you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day going,
Who are you?
yeah, and what the heck happened?
Yeah.
And people look at you different too because they know when you've been off of it a while, they can tell a big difference
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you get a little smarter, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, you're getting sleep.
yeah, you're sleeping, you're eating, you're gaining weight, you're getting your muscle tone back, but it still don't help with the teeth. It don't help with none of that. I mean, they're pretty much gone once.
It's what dentists are for.
Yeah. And I
So
got to
you
afford
had-
one though.
You had some financial issues. How do you afford the drug or the alcohol if you're
Well,
struggling?
see, I was called
find a way.
a functioning addict
Okay.
Yeah.
because I can work all day long,
Me too.
party all night, and then go back to work all day, and then I'd do that until I'd crash out. I'd go home and I'd sleep all day, all afternoon.
We got a real story here.
I'd sleep.
Yeah.
I'd sleep. I'd like.
I'll try
I'd
to
have-
mute it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll watch this and mute it whenever we're playing it.
I didn't
That's
mean
cool.
to say that.
That's
I know you
okay
didn't.
because it's just
You're
the
not used to being around people
Yeah.
on a. I got you.
broadcast. I
I'm not
told
much of a social person.
we all right, guys. Just so you catch up, this is the Morning Mouth with Johnny Rooster and Pastor Matt. Today's guest has been on the air one other time, and that was the previous segment. So he is new to the broadcast world, and
Yeah.
we're telling a real world story about drug addiction and a really hard turn from that into something else. How does that happen? But this real world stuff It comes with a lot of real baggage. You
Yeah.
know,
It
teeth are coming out. You
Yeah.
got.
I got mine knocked out, and then they started just after that. It was just they're gone. I got
Yeah.
I got to go see a dentist, get them fixed right.
But your financial side, how is it hard to how you continue to work and you
Mhm.
can pay for your own drugs
Yeah, I work all
when
the
you're
time,
when you're involved?
and I've always
You're
broke.
on a high. You're continually going
I'm
until
always
you
going
crash.
until you decide you need to lay down for a while. And usually, because your body and your brain's telling you you're gonna have to lay down or you're gonna just die. And I usually go home and I'd sleep a whole weekend almost because I was up for like 2 weeks working and doing and working and doing working. And then you realize, well, I ain't gonna do nothing tonight. And you go home and you stretch out, and next thing you know, somebody shows up and you're doing some more.
Yeah.
It's a
Somebody,
never-ending cycle.
somebody or somebody's out there. Some people that are listening and watching
Mhm.
need to hear some more about that. The lies just get too strong, and they got to stop that
You
lie.
got
Yeah.
you got to and you got to
Let's bring
cover
it
up
to light.
everything you do.
Yeah.
Everything you do. If you don't cover up, if you miss something, somebody walks in, like I kept my house spotless because I did not
didn't
want
want
my
any-
mom or anybody knowing what I'm doing. But I know they knew because
Living the lie,
yeah.
pretending.
Yeah.
And,
And it's intense.
oh really? And it gets really hard because you're lying to somebody you'd never lied to before in your life, and you're like, and it's gonna kill my mom.
Okay, so somebody in my family got off the drug because they're incarcerated, and that's how they got clean. But that's really a mind game. You voluntarily,
Yeah,
1
you
year
have to.
ago.
If you don't do it on your own, you're just gonna go right back to doing it.
So you voluntarily a year ago now
Yeah.
have stopped using. But what are your triggers, and what are some things that you have to avoid? What do you
Uh,
do to keep from going back?
I keep people away from me to do it.
Yeah,
I
you
just
have
keep
to get
'em-
rid of every friend you have.
You have to change your whole lifestyle.
But your
In other words,
family's involved.
it don't matter. You
Yeah,
have to
you
cut
gotta
'em
get rid
off.
of them
You
too.
have to cut them off.
Yeah.
If you don't cut them off, they're going to drag you right back down with them.
How do you
And they
deal?
don't care if they do it.
How do you deal with the loneliness? You don't have communication with your family
Oh, I talk to my mom and my little brother all the time.
because they're the two that don't use.
Yeah, and I got a
You got a brother in prison, right?
Scott, but he can't do nothing anymore. He's only got a lung and a half working. They have to give him an IV every now and then.
How old are you?
I'm 51.
And how old is he?
He's 53.
So we're not talking about elderly people. We're
No,
talking about
no,
people
he
whose lives have
partied
been-
so hard. He was drinking a fifth of wild turkey a day. He was doing meth 24/7,
Hmm.
and he lost his lungs because they told my mom he had 6 different methamphetamines in his system when he ended up in the hospital of a collapsed lung because it got so dried out that it cracked. When it did, it put the air on top of his lung and pushed it down. And if the lady wouldn't have been there to get him in the hospital, he'd have died. And now he's having a fight with he's in prison because of something he done a long time ago, but he's getting out in April, and he has to have an IV fluid because he's got cancer now, and his lung don't work right, and they have to give him IV every now and then for his lungs.
It's like a different world. When I'm hearing it as a host, I don't relate to that story.
Yeah.
Other people won't relate to that either. However, we can all relate to a condition of humanity that says, I'm doing my thing and I'm going to be self-reliant.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly where I was being selfish and double-minded. I could do anything I wanted, but I could cover it up and be a good Christian on Sunday in front of my church friends.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I had this clean life without drugs and
Yeah.
alcohol, and yet I had this double life of very selfish, very demanding, and very verbally angry and abusive to my wife, who is now my ex-wife. So anybody can blow up even if they're not addicted
Yeah.
to a substance. The human condition is your story. It's story time. Your story is you've got something in your life that ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do about it? So Jody, you had this problem, but it's a year now. Are you still struggling with temptation to
Yeah.
use?
Yeah, because some days you wake up, you're just wore out, and you think, man, if I just do a little to get by, and I'll be
Mhm.
all right. But you know you can't,
Mm-hmm.
because once you do it, you're not going to stop. It's a
And without contact with people that use, that's one step. Is there anything
you-
else that you
Well-
do or can do?
Yeah, I talked to. I got a couple close friends that don't do drugs or nothing, and I talk to them about it because it helps me.
Okay.
If I go and talk to them, they're like, "Hey, you don't need that stuff. You're doing fine. Just keep on." And
Yeah.
you do. because life will knock you down and
So-
keep you down if you let it.
You're saying some associating with other people that don't use has been a benefit to you.
Yeah, I don't care if they drink alcohol. I've never been a big fan of it.
Right.
I've never been a big
But
fan.
they're not dragging you into the
Yeah,
drug
they're not
use.
dragging me into the drugs. They're not dragging me into the
Is that part of everybody's journey? How long have you been clean?
So I was 31 when I decided to quit
So
drinking.
9 years.
Yeah.
Because you're 40. He
Wow.
had the
Ju-
big
the
4
day after my no, it was definitely up and down. I
Yeah.
had to move home to my parents' house and get rid of every friend that I had.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to.
And then, along the way you make
It's
new
not like
friends.
you had this. It's not like you have this re-entry into society and you're an outcast. You have to cut it all off.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
absolutely.
really reboot.
You got to cut all ties, and that's
It's like being homeless, or it's like being
Oh,
like
yeah.
I have nothing,
And
I'm
he's right.
starting over.
The people that are in drugs do
They
not
don't
care.
They don't care.
If you say, "Hey man, I've quit doing dope."
They don't.
and they say, "Well, come over, I won't let you."
yeah.
That's crap.
Yeah, because they'll do it.
It's the same way with drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that's like, "Hey, it's my wife's birthday tonight. Come over." I was like, "I can't.
Yeah.
I quit drinking. You guys
Yeah.
are drinking. I don't want to
Yeah.
be there." "Oh, come over. I won't let you drink." "Oh,
What I couldn't believe,
Okay.
what I couldn't believe from
Famous
last lie ever.
from the one in my family involved years ago, I could not believe how the lies just kept coming like natural, like we
that.
know you're lying.
And-
They know we're lying,
But-
that they're lying, and yet they
3
keep
minutes, man.
lying.
Yeah,
Are
but
we
they
almost out
keep-
of time?
They keep.
we got
they're-
3
they're-
minutes."
They already convince themselves
Yeah.
that they're not lying.
So
That's
what-
why they do it. They'll keep lying and lying and lying and say, "Oh, I didn't," and they'll get so mad at you and try to whoop your butt because
Good
Yeah.
going.
to cover it up,
Yeah.
and it's not. It's
Well,
and you know they're lying to your face.
So
But
the-
if you get into a physical altercation with them, it's going to cause more problems.
So this story that we're having in Story Time Part 2 is a continuation of my coworker Jody, who
Yeah.
has struggled with alcohol and drugs.
Recovering drug
But
addict.
what's
Yeah, I'm
interesting, it's been a year now.
It'll take a while, but I got it.
It's been a year.
Yeah.
What would you say about tough love for people that are going through it, and what would you say about how would you see the next year in your recovery?
Well, my mom, on the tough love part, she cut all ties with my sister,
Okay,
and that's just been recent.
because your sister is using drugs.
And she, she's into the continuing line,
Mhm.
stealing. I mean, she stole stuff from my mom. My dad gave her right before he died, and
Okay.
that's not cool.
Okay,
And my mom finally realized that she can't keep enabling her. She's just gonna have to cut her off.
she can't keep what on her?
Enabling.
Enabling her.
Oh, well,
To
that's
enable.
very important to realize.
And she realized if she kept giving her money, kept helping her, I mean,
You have to let them hit rock bottom.
That is
and-
very
And
important.
I mean rock bottom, because my dad's house, my mom called me up. She goes, "I want you to have his house because your sister is just turning into a crack den." I said, "I kind of told you that."
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "Well, I learned, and I cut all ties. I told her to get her stuff, go away,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's really hard. My mom cries, and I understand, but
Yeah.
if she don't do it,
So that's the tough
she's
love
gonna find my
side
sister dead
is
somewhere."
cut off that enabling, that funding, any money, any
Everything.
So then the last part was, where do you see your next year, this coming year? What do you want to accomplish, or what are you hoping that?
Well, I'm kind of hoping I get my own business going again, and I
Mhm.
get everything straightened out, and that I'm doing even better. That
Great.
the temptation will be less.
And then lastly, what do you
It'll
see?
never go away, but
What role does God play in your life?
God's gonna make everything better. He's gonna heal me. He's gonna make me where I can adjust to everything better, and that I'm not being used or letting people use me anymore.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I do believe that God is really the only source for complete healing.
Absolute.
Absolute. He's
And I'd
absolute.
encourage you to
He-
find, again, connection with that pastor and with others
Uh-huh.
to continue that spiritual
See,
walk.
there's a couple of little country churches out there where I live. We're
He's out in the country, if you guys hadn't noticed. And we're thankful for Jody coming into the studio today again. And this was part 2 of his story. Watch part 1 if you didn't, because you're wanting to catch up on a hard life that's getting better and better. And
Yeah,
we
it is.
can all get better and better if we continue to focus on
Oh yeah.
the Lord.
Amen to that.
Amen.
What else you got?
Well, I
You
just
good?
got. Hey, if you guys like and share these videos, please. It helps
Yes,
us out quite a
helps.
bit.
Oh, yeah.
And also set your little alarm bell on your Facebook page or on our Facebook page, also on our YouTube channel, so that way you know when we're going live, and that helps more than you know. Share this on your timeline. Go to axmediagroup.com.
You got something coming up next,
Yeah, the happy hour with
Okay.
Dr. Paul and his wife Nancy.
which is interesting because the name Happy Hour has nothing to do with the topic we were talking about.
Right. And sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with being happy whenever Dr. Paul never on. So, except for whenever he does his rhyming that he's so good at. Anyways.
Anyway, there's always variety here on Axe Media Group. Have a great week.